Walters is open at a special time this Sunday for brunch at 9:30 a.m. due to the early Nats game. To learn more about their bottomless brunch, visit waltersdc.com.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Finnegan coming set. Long hold. The runner goes. The 3-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out with a high fastball at 96. Finnegan survives the top of the 10th. The Angels do not score. Here's the set. The 3-2 pitch from Joyce. Swinging a line drive off the glove of the second baseman. Guillorme, it eats him up. It goes into right center field. Young scores the winning run. They're going to mob Alex Call between first and second. The Nationals win it 3-2. They'll score a single, a laser shot off the glove. Guillorme couldn't catch it. And the Nationals score just their second walk-off win of the season. Alex Call delivers with a bullet.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Saturday, August 10th, 2024. Along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who is at Nationals Park. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. The Nats on Friday evening faced the Los Angeles Angels at Nationals Park for the first time since August 16th, 2017. This was the first game for former Nats third baseman Anthony Rendon at Nationals Park since he left the team via free agency in December 2019. And this was a Nats win, a 3-2 10-inning win in Game 1 of a 3-game series. The Nats for this regular season now 53-64. And this win was part of a tremendous Friday evening for the Nats organization. We had outfielder Dylan Cruz, who per MLB Pipeline is the number 4 overall prospect in baseball, homering. He for AAA Rochester in a 10-4 win at the Buffalo Bisons as the Red Wings starting center fielder and number 1 batter, 2 for 4 with a 2-run homer and a single. And Rochester first baseman Andres Chaparro, who the Nats got in their trading of reliever Dylan Floro. Chaparro homered for a 4th consecutive game. And there was more. The Nats' low-A affiliate, the Fredericksburg Nationals, they on Friday evening won via a combined no-hitter, a 7-1 win over the Carolina Mudcats as the rise of Travis Sikora continued. 6 perfect innings, 10 strikeouts, and the Fred Nats in that game got homers from 2 prospects who the Nats are very much hoping get back on track as being high-level prospects, outfielders Elijah Green and Christian Vaquero. And the Nats' high-A affiliate, the Wilmington Blue Rocks, they on Friday evening in a 4-3 win over the Jersey Shore Blue Claws. Got more dominance from Harleen Susana, 1 run in 5 innings, 9 strikeouts versus 1 walk. The only thing better than the names of these minor league teams are how these Nats teams were doing on Friday evening, and the Nats got a 10-inning win over the Angels. Alex Call in the Nats 1-run 10th, a walk-off, 1-out opposite field, RBI single into right center field for the win. As the Nats, Mark, won this game despite totaling just 7 hits, all of which were singles. But what a night that Friday night was for the Nats at multiple levels of the organization.
Good stuff all around, obviously, and the prospect news is great, of course. You want that. But I know fans want to see success at the big league level, too. They don't just want to have that hope for the future with what's coming down the road. They're ready to start winning at this level. And so to me, after what happened Thursday and the way they lost that game in extra innings to the Giants, for them to finally execute in the big moments when they had to late in this game was such a comforting thing to see from this team, because we know it doesn't always happen that way. More often than not, it doesn't happen that way. So to see them come through both on the mound, in the field, and at the plate when they had to deliver to win a game, that to me was the best thing that happened all night.
Well, they delivered just enough offensively. You know, the Nats' formula for victory this season, as we have discussed, right? Good pitching and just enough hitting. This game really tested the boundaries of just enough hitting. Again, 7 hits for the Nats all game. 7 singles. That was it in terms of Nats offense. The Nats drew 2 walks. The Nats went 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. 5 of the Nats' 7 hits in the game came from the team's numbers 1 and 2 batters, Alex Cole and Luis Garcia Jr. As yes, Alex Cole continues to produce. He in this game as the Nats starting right fielder and number 1 batter, as C.J. Abrams was a late scratch due to back spasms. Cole 3 for 5 with a walk-off RBI single and 2 other singles. Cole in the Nats 1-run first, a leadoff full count infield single to the left side of the infield despite having been down at 1.12, did then get thrown out in an attempted steal of second base. But Cole in the Nats 1-run 8th, a 1-out opposite field single to no man's land in shallow right field on a 1-2 pitch. And then Cole in the Nats 1-run 10th, a walk-off 1-out opposite field RBI single into right center field for a 3-2 Nats win. So the Nats scoring in the first, 8th, and 10th innings. Alex Cole coming through with a hit in each of those innings. I mentioned him having an infield single. It felt like so many of these singles by the Nats in this game were infield singles. Again, the offense was not dynamic, but props to Cole for another productive game, and he obviously came through in the biggest moment.
He's now 17 for 37 since coming back up to replace Lane Thomas in right field, and 6 walks on top of that, and 8 RBI in 11 games, and this was the biggest one of them all. That was a tough at-bat. You're facing a guy in Ben Joyce. He clears the triple-digit mark with plenty of room to spare. Cole had never faced him before. He'd only seen him on TV when he was in college at Tennessee. And he gets himself into a 3-2 count. He knows he's got to find a way to get the runner home somehow. Swung at a pitch that was borderline. It might have been ball 4, but he said, knowing his luck, he probably would have been rung up on it by the home plate umpire. So he went for it, stayed on it, and hit a bullet to second base. And Luis Guillorme, who's drawn in, I think everybody off the bat thought, oh, that's right at him. I think it just got to him so quickly he couldn't react in time. And it's like he goes to make the catch and the ball's already behind him, essentially. And a great moment for Cole and a really needed moment for the Nationals. They needed a game like this, a chance to celebrate like that after losing way too many of these games. It's now 4-8 in extra innings, even with this one. That was a feel-good moment, a legitimate feel-good moment for them during a stretch here where they have not had enough of them.
And Luis Garcia Jr. in this game, he is the Nats starting second baseman and number 2 batter, 2 for 3 with 2 singles and a walk. He did commit a throwing error, but Garcia in the Nats 1-run first, a 1-out walk. Garcia in the bottom of the 3rd, a 1-out infield single. This on a chopper toward the middle of the infield on a 1-2 pitch. And also on the play was Angels third baseman and ex-Nat Anthony Rendon committing a throwing error. And Garcia in the Nats 1-run 8th, a 1-out first pitch, opposite field single to left field. But yes, beyond Alex Cole and Luis Garcia Jr., not much happening for the Nats offensively in this game. Juan Yepez had a single and an RBI sac fly. James Wood had a single, what was an infield single, and that was it in terms of hits by the Nats in this game. This was a very pedestrian offensive performance that the Nats found a way to win this game. I give them a lot of credit. And regarding the James Wood single, so you had to laugh watching this. Obviously, Rendon being back at Nationals Park, a big deal on this day. Talked about that. This was his first game at Nats Park since leaving the Nats via free agency in December 2019. I don't know what you thought about this play, but so James Wood, starting left fielder, number 5 batter, 1 for 4, had this infield single. He also had another very good game in terms of exit velocity. Wood per StatCast had 2 of the Nats' top 4 exit velocities of the game. So Wood in the bottom of the 4th, a leadoff opposite field infield single to the left side of the infield.
Here's the 2-1. Wood grounds one sharply right at the third baseman. Rendon playing a shortstop position. He triggers to first, and Wood's going to beat the play.
It looked to me like Rendon took his sweet time in getting off his throw on the play. The ball went to Rendon. To me, it took too long to get rid of the ball, and Wood ended up beating the throw. This was a well-hit ball. This, in fact, had the highest exit velocity of the game, 111.3 miles per hour. But, with Rendon, there has been the phrase over the years of he can seem like he's out to lunch. And that, to me, sort of came off like that. Like, there wasn't the urgency on that play that there should have been given James Wood's speed.
What struck me there, and I don't know what's going on in Anthony Rendon's head for sure, but watching it, I'm thinking to myself, he didn't do his homework. He doesn't know how fast James Wood is. And he just assumes, okay, that was a really hard hit ball. I've got it. I've got plenty of time to throw this 6'7" guy out at first base. And then he throws the ball and is like, oh no, wait a minute. How did he get down the line so fast? Now, maybe he did do his homework. Maybe he knew and he just couldn't. Maybe he doesn't have the ability to make a play as quickly as he used to. But that to me was evidence. Number one, good job by James. Just because the ball was caught, run hard. You never know what might happen. And number two, Rendon probably not actually understanding or appreciating what perhaps one of the new faces of the Nationals has the ability to do. And the former face of the Nationals was not ready for that moment.
Rendon got a nice ovation at Nationals Park, got a nice tribute video at Nationals Park. He deserved those things, but we know that things have not gone well for him with the Angels. And that play was sort of like symbolic, I felt like, of all of that.
Hi Nats fans, this is Tim Newmark, DC area composer, longtime Nationals fan, and proud composer of the Nats Chat podcast theme song. If you're enjoying the music and would like to hear more, check out timnewmark.com/streaming or just search for Tim Newmark wherever you listen to music. To find the rest of the song you're hearing now, search for the title Double in the Sun. Go Nats!
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Well, Hoppy waits. Here it is. Swinging a foul tip. Ruiz squeezes it for strike three, and nice work by Jacob Barnes to strand two Angels base runners here in the seventh.
So, we could talk about Alex Call's walk-off single and James Wood's exit velocities, but the MVPs of this game for the Nats were Mitchell Parker, Jacob Barnes, and Kyle Finnegan. Some tremendous pitching on display by the Nats in this 3-2 10-inning win over the Angels on Friday evening. So Mitchell Parker, he allowed 2 runs, both of which went down as unearned in 6 and a third innings. Now, he did give up 8 hits, but they were a home run and 7 singles. He had 5 strikeouts versus no walks. He threw a lot of strikes, 98 pitches, 69 strikes versus just 29 balls. So Parker, in the top of the second, gave up a 2-out first pitch, 2-run homer by Joe Adell, actually over the bullpen at left field for a 2-1 Angels lead. That was quite a homer by Adell, 431 projected feet per Statcast, but both of those runs went down as unearned due to a went-out throwing error by Parker on a pickoff attempt. And beyond the homer and the error, Mitchell Parker had a very good game.
He absolutely did, and the key was the strike throwing, as you just said. Big-time strike percentage there, allowing him to get ahead in the count, allowing him to complete innings pretty quickly. Even when he had some traffic on the bases, the pitch count was never really a factor, and that's how, at the end of the 6th, he walks off the mound at 87 pitches, and I just kind of assumed that's probably it, because, hey, you got 6 innings out of your rookie starter, no need to push him anymore. And he went back to the dugout and said, hey, I can go more. And Davey said, all right, we're going to let you face at least a few batters here in the 7th, at least till we get around the lefty part of it. And props to him. I mean, that was a big time start from a guy on a night when they needed that. It's one thing to do that if the two guys in front of you each went 7 innings themselves. But to do that on the heels of really 4 straight subpar starts, an extra inning loss the night before, knowing the bullpen's in bad shape, that's big time. That goes so far within a clubhouse when your starter can come out and do that, especially as a young guy like Parker. So to me, all things considered, I think this is one of his best starts of the season because of the circumstances that he was presented and the fact that he lived up to the challenge, what they needed him to do in this game.
We have talked about Luis Garcia Jr. overtaking C.J. Abrams for the team OPS lead. Would it surprise you to hear that Mitchell Parker is creeping up on Jake Irvin in terms of earned run average for this regular season? Parker now 21 starts, ERA of 3.83. Irvin, who has been a bit off lately, as we have talked about, 24 starts, ERA of 3.76. Now, the whip for Irvin is lower than Parker's, so 112 versus 120. Irvin is generating strikeouts at a rate that Mitchell Parker is not. Jake Irvin on this season, 7.71 strikeouts per 9 innings. Parker, 7.35, not that far behind. But the point is, Mitchell Parker, as time is going on here, is putting together a very nice season. And, by the end of this season, it's possible we end up saying that he was the Nats' best starting pitcher this season. We'll see.
We'll see. I don't know if I'm going to go that far quite yet. I would love to see Jake Irvin get back on track here and finish strong after such a great first half. But what this tells me is that Parker has been able to adapt, that he's not getting worn down physically in his first big league season, that he's not letting a few bad starts get to him and kind of derail the whole thing. So those are all good signs from someone who we talked about when he first came up. I mean, his debut game at Dodger Stadium, how calm he was in that moment. That really hasn't changed. Whether he's pitched well, whether he's pitched poorly, he's kept a very steady demeanor. And I think it suits him well, not just in any one individual game, but over the course of a season, not getting too high when things go well, not getting too low when things don't go well, just kind of focusing on one start at a time. And that's worked for him. And the hope would be he can keep that up here over the rest of the season. And it's going to be really interesting to see at the end of the year when we look at the numbers of all these starting pitchers, both in terms of what the ERA and stuff is, but how many innings they all end up throwing, how many starts they all end up making, and do they finish strong? Do they fade down the stretch? It's pretty hard right now to put together a rotation depth chart going into next season. Like, it could go a lot of different ways. I think we know the names who are going to be in the mix for it, but I don't think we should just jump to any conclusions as far as who's number 1, who's number 2, 3, 4, and all that kind of stuff. I think there's a lot of time left for each one of these guys to make his case for how he should be considered going into next year.
Yeah, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done by some guys. Mackenzie Gore has a lot of work to do. I think Jake Irvin has a good bit of work to do. But good stuff from Mitchell Parker. And how about the Nats bullpen in this game on Friday evening? So look, lately we have had a wide range of performances by the Nats bullpen. At times, actually quite good. At other times, quite bad. In this game, really good. 2 Nats relievers, Jacob Barnes and Kyle Finnegan, combined for 3 2/3 scoreless innings with 5 swinging strikeouts. Jacob Barnes, he tossed 1 2/3 scoreless innings with 3 swinging strikeouts. He came into the game in the top of the 7th with runners on first and second, 1 out, and the Nats down 2-1. And Barnes retired each of the first 2 batters he faced, including generating a big strikeout, a 5-pitch swinging strikeout of the Angels' number 3 batter, Logan O'Hoppe, for the 3rd out. And then Kyle Finnegan, who has not been at his best lately, he was really good. He tossed 2 scoreless and hitless innings with 2 swinging strikeouts to preserve a 2-all tie. He tossed a perfect top of the 9th and a scoreless top of the 10th, including generating a full count swinging strikeout of Anthony Rendon with runners at the corners and 2 outs. Some big strikeouts produced by Jacob Barnes and Kyle Finnegan.
Yeah, and they each had to strand a runner on third. Barnes had to do it twice in his 2 innings, and Finnegan had to do it once. Here's the other thing. We talk so much about the Nationals needing 5, 6 pitchers to get through a 9-inning game. When's the last time they only used 3 guys in a 10-inning game? That was fantastic to see. Both Barnes and Finnegan working big overtime here. Finnegan threw 28 pitches the previous day, and what was obviously not a good outing and could have taken the loss if not for Luis Garcia's home run. For him to come back just to pitch at all is impressive. For him to come back and pitch 2 innings is out of this world. I don't know how many other all-star closers you would see offering to do that and then embracing it and coming out and doing what he did. And so I really do give him a lot of credit. And even when things don't go well for him, he does seem to have this mentality of, I'm going to find a way to get back. Give me the ball again. I want to be out there again. That was some great theater with Rendon. We haven't had a lot of those moments this year. Like, hey, this is a big moment in the game. The crowd's into it. Big time hitter at the plate. Top reliever on the mound. That was a lot of fun to see that go down, whatever the result. And obviously for the home crowd, a whole lot better to see Finnegan win that battle.
It has to go down as one of Finnegan's best outings of the season when you think about the volume of work, right? 2 innings, 2 strikeouts, preserving a tie in a game that the Nats end up winning. So a salute to Kyle Finnegan for what he did. Now, after the game, the Nats did announce a bullpen transaction. The Nats late night on Friday night announced having option reliever Yohan Adon back to AAA Rochester. What do you think that means in terms of what might be coming?
I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, they're going to bring in another reliever unless something else has gone on that we don't know about, that we're not aware of. I don't think there's anything else that we're not on top of here. They have a few options down there that it could be. They have spots on the 40-man, so they could bring somebody up who's not already on it. Adon, it's a tricky thing. I know they feel like he could be valuable to them. They haven't really used him as a long man yet. He pitched briefly on Thursday. Maybe the sense was he really can't go back-to-back days at this point, so he's just not developed enough as a reliever to be able to use a spot on him. Maybe they just felt like the bullpen is in such shape right now that they need extra arms. And, Patrick Corbin on Saturday could always be a short outing. So maybe you need somebody to come in here and be able to provide some length. I guess that's the thought process behind it. We'll find out on Saturday, whatever the corresponding move is. So maybe there's more to it than that we're not aware of. But my guess is it's just feeling like, number one, Adon hasn't really taken the ball and run with it when he's been up here. But number two, he's still developing as a reliever. And so maybe they think they need somebody who they can count on to pitch more regularly and in some bigger spots than Adon has.
I mentioned C.J. Abrams, so late scratch due to back spasms, and then his replacement, the guy who was the Nats starting shortstop for this game, Nasim Nunez, he ended up dealing with some cramping. What do we know about how they're doing?
Both sound like it's probably day-to-day. Abrams was on the bench the whole time. If he was truly available, I think he would have hit for Nunez in that spot. So that tells you something, at least, that he was not good enough to do that. Well, I guess we'll see on Saturday. Now, Nunez, the way he came off the field, you're thinking, oh, man, this is like IL situation for him. But apparently he was testing it down in the tunnel after that. And if the game had continued, was maybe going to try to stay in. If he couldn't have, they were actually okay. At first, I thought, oh, no, they're going to have to play Abrams now, no matter what. But they could have put Trey Lipscomb in at third and moved Vargas over to shortstop. So they would have been covered if needed. So I think with Abrams, they may take a day just to make sure that he's all right. And Nunez, the hope would be that it isn't anything all that serious. Although with a Rule 5 pick who never plays, when they have even the slightest physical ailment, sometimes that can turn into an IL stint. And you say, let's give you 7 weeks to let that thing heal. We retain your rights to get somebody else up here. I'm not saying that's what they would do or that they would encourage such a thing, but I can't be the only one who had that thought cross his mind in the 10th inning as that all played out. And they do have a couple infielders at AAA that they wouldn't mind seeing here before it's all said and done. So we'll see. Hopefully he's not hurt. I don't want the kid to be hurt. He got down a really good sacrifice bunt that they needed to get the runner up to third base with the game on the line. But we know how little he plays. We know what the situation is. And very often with Rule 5 picks, if there's even the slightest opportunity to put him on the injured list, they often will take advantage of that.
I don't think there would be anything wrong with the Nats doing that. And as I mentioned, Andres Chaparro right now is banging on the door to be summoned to the major league level. So we'll see.
This episode is brought to you by our good friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. I'm sure by now you've all gotten back into your Sunday routines, but they could be even better. With NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place, every game, every Sunday, and you can even watch up to 4 different games at once with Multiview, one of my favorite inventions of this decade. It's exactly what you need to catch all the action. Make your Sundays more magical. And also, YouTube TV is great. I got it this year. It's awesome. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
School is back, and Dick's Sporting Goods has what you need to win your year. We've got everything from cleats to Sambas, dunks, and more. Plus, the hottest looks from Nike, Jordan, and Adidas. Find your first day fits in-store or online at dicks.com.
Wagner trying to hold him close. The 2-0. That ball is drilled out toward deep left center field. That's going to be a big problem, and that ball is gone. Dylan Cruz ties it up with a 2-run blast to left center field.
A busy minor league report from Friday night. In AAA, not only did Dylan Cruz homer for Rochester, but the newly acquired Andres Chaparro homered for the 4th straight game. By the way, another brief yet scoreless appearance for Joe La Sorsa in relief, whose ERA this season sits at 2.18. To High A Wilmington, where Holland Susana struck out 9 in only 5 innings pitched, and in Low A, history for Fredericksburg, the bulk of which thrown by Travis Sikora.
The 0-2, swing and a miss! They've done it! No hits for the Mudcats! It's the first 9-inning no-hitter in Fredericksburg Nationals history!
And dropping many rungs, yet keeping it local, the Little League squad from Washington, D.C. fell one step short of making the World Series in Williamsport, losing 5-1 to Pennsylvania. Now back to the show.
Third baseman, number 6, Anthony Rendon.
Fans coming to their feet. Keibert Ruiz is going to walk out in front of the plate. And listen to this crowd for Anthony Rendon. He has waved to the crowd both sides of the park and then tapped his right hand on his chest.
Anthony Rendon, his return to Nationals Park. I mentioned some of the defensive issues he had in this game. He did have 3 hits in this game, 3 singles. We in this game had 17 total hits. 16 of the 17 hits were singles. The only non-single was that aforementioned Joe Adell home run. I know you had a chance to speak with Rendon before the game. Did anything strike you in terms of what he had to say?
Not what he said, but how he looked and what his demeanor was. He was genuinely happy to be back here. And, I've seen him a couple of times since in Anaheim when they were playing there, and he usually was not real thrilled about it, whether to talk to us or just in general, because things weren't going well for him. And we know all the issues that he's had out there. I think what struck me is when he walked back into this ballpark and the memories start flooding back in, and a lot of people saw him and were excited to see him. I think he was genuinely happy to be back here and excited. And I don't know how many ballparks there are in America right now that would give Anthony Rendon a standing ovation, but this one did. And rightfully so. He earned it. He deserved it here. And I wonder if there's just a little part of him as he was experiencing that all on Friday night that he thought, am I sure I made the right decision or not? Who knows how this will all go for him in the long run, whether, maybe the Nats benefited from not re-signing him because maybe he suffers all these injuries while he's here instead. But I saw a guy who was, number one, happy to be healthy and playing again after all the issues he's had. But number 2, genuinely happy to be back here in D.C. and relive the good times and be in a very welcoming place for a guy who probably doesn't have a whole lot of places that he feels welcome right now.
You can follow the podcast on X at Nats_chat. Tim Shovers put up a poll on X prior to the game asking how Nats fans would treat Anthony Rendon this weekend, and the overwhelming response was that Rendon would be received with a standing ovation. The 3 options: standing ovation, mixed response, light applause. Standing ovation won the day by far, got more than 70% of the vote. That is what happened on Friday evening. That is what should have happened. That Rendon's time with the Angels has gone poorly has nothing to do with, with being a Nats fan. He was very good for the Nats. Some injuries, okay, but the production was there. I mean, if you're talking about who is the best third baseman for the Nationals franchise since it came here, it's Ryan Zimmerman and Anthony Rendon. Those are the top 2 guys. But there was a post on X that went viral before the game, and it really does stand out. So Jeff Fletcher, who has covered the Angels for a while, works for the SoCal News Group, he put this up. He said, members of the Nats media determined that they had used 19 third basemen since Anthony Rendon left. So I looked this up. This is Jeff Fletcher writing. The Angels have used 28 third basemen since they signed Rendon. So the Nats, without Rendon, have used fewer third basemen than the Angels have used with Rendon. And it's not like the Nats have had, supreme stability at third base since Anthony Rendon departed. That is a jaw-dropping stat.
We couldn't believe it when Jeff told us. He was sitting right behind us. He heard us talking about all the Nats third basemen. We were trying to remember them all off the top of our head. And then he said he looked it up and spouted off that number. And we couldn't believe it. I don't think he could believe it either. Oh, he's had to live it. So maybe he does believe that it's true. It is stunning. It just tells you what a disaster that contract has been for them and why the feeling about Anthony Rendon in Anaheim is very different than the feeling about him in Washington, D.C. But again, it worked out for the Nats in the end in terms of them not paying a whole lot of money on another guy who did not live up to what he was supposed to be and would have severely hurt them if he was dealing with the same injuries. But it is pretty remarkable to think they have used 19. Actually, in this game, Ildemaro Vargas was at third base for the 114th time with the Nationals. That ties Carter Kieboom, 114. They're the two top on that list of third basemen since Rendon left. That's not good. Number one, that's the top games played, 114. Number two, that it's those two guys. The prospect who was supposed to be the heir apparent to Rendon, who never worked out what he was supposed to be, and Vargas, a true utility guy who's done an admirable job, but is not the future and should not be the guy getting the most starts at third base. Right now, he is playing more than Trey Lipscomb is. I think that's quite notable. Lipscomb is not the everyday third baseman. I'm really curious to see as they move forward here. Do we get a look at Andres Chaparro or Jose Tena? I don't think they call up Brady House at this point. He's not done enough yet at AAA, I think, to merit it. But when it's all said and done, they still don't know who their third baseman of the future is. They have a guy they want it to be in Brady House, but they still don't know 5 years later. That's been a revolving door for them. And I'm not saying Rendon would have been better, but they have not adequately filled that huge void when he left.
Yeah, the Kieboom thing really does stand out. It's not only that he did not work out, he has become like a forgotten man. I mean, his name never comes up anymore. Nobody talks about him when you talk about the Nats moving forward. That is so telling. Yeah, the Lipscomb thing is remarkable, too. It was just a few weeks ago that we were told that third base was Trey Lipscomb's job moving forward, and that already has evaporated. Lipscomb's performance has not warranted that continuing, and, I think there pretty clearly was not that firm of a commitment to this either, that the Nats have been so quick to pull the plug on that. And so lately, yeah, Vargas is an everyday player now. He either starts at third base or second base, but Ildemaro Vargas now is playing every day. I'm not sure about the wisdom of that as you're a rebuilding team, but I guess they feel like they don't have better options. I did want to ask you this. So if you talk about like the best third baseman since the Nats came here, because of his volume of work, the answer is Ryan Zimmerman. But in terms of peak, each guy at his best, who do you is better in terms of at his best, Ryan Zimmerman or Anthony Rendon?
Oof, that is a great question. Defensively, they were both so good at their peak. And the people who didn't remember Zim as a third baseman, I don't think will ever truly understand how great he was there. And Rendon was solid all the time, making every play there. Offensively, I think Rendon was probably the better hitter at his best. He would hit for higher average, just probably more consistent. Zim was always streaky. When he was good, he was really good. I'm going to say probably Rendon. If you had to take like the best season of either of them, I'm going to say that Rendon, it might have been his 2019 season actually, was the best season by a Nats third baseman and making him their best third baseman. But I was also thinking about this in a broader sense. If you're putting together a short list of, who's the greatest National in 20 years they've existed here, he's in the conversation. To me, it's Max Scherzer because he's going to go to the Hall of Fame because of what he did with the Nationals. And you can make the case for Zim because of the longevity. But I think that the short list is Scherzer, Strasburg, Zimmerman, Harper, Soto, and Rendon. I think those are the six. Maybe Trey Turner, although I might put him one step below that. But I think Rendon is on par with all of them. And you can arrange those whatever order you want. But I think he's in the inner circle of greatest Nationals of all time. And it'll be interesting as the years pass and they all retire and we wait to see how the Nationals decide to honor all these different players. I'm not saying you retire his number, based on what he did here for 7 seasons. But Jason Worth's name is up on that wall, on the facade. And I think there are a number of players who had more impact for this team. And I think Anthony Rendon absolutely is on that list.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're doing a Mount Rushmore of Nationals, I think the first 3 are easy. It's the fourth one that's tough. The first 3, very clearly to me anyway, Ryan Zimmerman, Steven Strasburg, Max Scherzer. And then who's number 4? Maybe it's Juan Soto, maybe it's Bryce Harper, but also maybe it is Anthony Rendon. There is an argument for that. In terms of WAR per Baseball Reference, so Rendon's peak WAR was for that 2019 regular season, 7.1. Zim's peak WAR, 7.3 for the 2009 season. You know, that is the unfortunate thing. The peak of Ryan Zimmerman was when the Nats were bad, like 2009, 2010. He was still productive when the Nats got good, but his best seasons were prior to the Nats being good.
You're right, and I think that stands out because really where Rendon wins the argument is October of 2019. If they don't do a Conn Smythe Trophy type thing in baseball, but if you were going to give an MVP for the entire playoff run, I think it's Anthony Rendon. He did something in every round. There was that crazy stat of what he did in the 7th inning and later of these elimination games. It was insane. He came through for them every single time. And I think that is maybe what ultimately separates him from anyone else. The production, of course, was there day in and day out when he was healthy, but especially when it really mattered most. Out of all the great players in that lineup, he's probably the one I wanted up at the plate most with the game on the line.
Yeah, Anthony Rendon over 31 postseason games and 138 postseason plate appearances for the Nats. OPS of 848. Not bad. You tell us what you think. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on our website, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can purchase a Nats Chat podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. We have Game 2 of this 3-game series against the Angels Saturday evening at 6:45. Patrick Corbin will be the Nats starting pitcher. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
Pitch. Swinging a hard ground ball. Diving snare by Rendon at the bag. Pops up, throws to first, and he gets his man. Anthony Rendon with one of the plays of the World Series right there. Laying out of the dive, robbing Altuve of extra bases for out number 1 in the 3rd inning. A diving backhanded grab on a bullet off the bat of Altuve.